Hello, and welcome to the BigTime Strength Podcast, featuring small school strength coaches from around the nation that are making the big time where they are at. Before we get to the episode, we'd like to thank our sponsors that make this podcast possible. TeamBuildr is a strength and conditioning software that allows coaches to build training programs, create wellness questionnaires, access and track athlete data, and more. Athletes can log data using phones, tablets, or laptops and can watch exercise videos so they know exactly what to do. Coaches can use the tools within the platform to monitor athlete recovery and readiness. Be sure to sign up now with code BigTime and you will gain access to a 30-day free trial. This episode is also brought to you by Powerlift. Taking your athletic facility from concept to completion can be a challenge. It is Powerlift's goal to make the process as seamless as possible from start to finish. Their weight equipment is made from the toughest materials that can withstand excessive use from coaches and athletes for years to come. It's sought after for its unique design, customizable appearance, affordability, and superior warranty that training facilities deserve. Powerlift helps design weight rooms with the athlete in mind, and they pride themselves on their ability to outfit athletic facilities based on a team's unique goals. That's why high schools, universities, professional sports teams, and athletic performance facilities around the world have chosen Powerlift to help maximize their strength training goals. Call Powerlift today to be contacted with a rep in your area and give us a follow on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to see for yourself why our clients are Powerlift proud. Finally, this episode is also brought to you by Vitruve. Vitruve is a velocity-based training system designed for colleges and high schools around the world. It is accurate, reliable, and affordable. The software is quick and easy to set up and use with a whole room of athletes simultaneously. Coaches have chosen Vitruve because it simplifies VBT and allows them to seamlessly integrate it on a daily basis. Check out Vitruve now for your school's free demo unit. Now, let's get to this week's episode.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the BigTime Strength Podcast. Today, we're going to be going through the in-season training protocol that we use at Mount Vernon High School. I believe this is a very important talk, especially for the small high schools around the nation that struggle with what it looks like to program for their athletes because so many of their athletes are multi-sport athletes. And there is so many benefits of having a strength program that takes into account in-season, postseason, out of season, and then going back into preseason eventually. And there is so many awesome things to programming on an annual plan that can get down to the finest details and really get really track the results along the way, know what you're looking for, knowing that, based off of your certain key performance indicators, what you need to adjust, all of those things. The thing that I have found at Mount Vernon, it is really hard to be able to do that and do that well. And actually, when I first started at Mount Vernon, I was frustrated, and I've told this to a lot of people, so forgive me if you've heard this before, but I was very frustrated when I started at Mount Vernon. I was frustrated with my strength coach, Joe Quinlan, from college, and he had taught me a lot of the X's and O's for college strength and conditioning, but you know what? I just didn't feel prepared when I got to the high school level, and that was just because the implementation was just so different. It was just so different, and there's a little bit more to that story, and I'll circle back to it. But when I got to Mount Vernon, we're starting it off, obviously, with the fall season. And so we had football getting started, volleyball getting started, cross country getting started. And obviously, we have our out-of-season athletes that are rolling too. And there's just so many things to keep in line, keep ordered, and knowing that there are so many different schedules that people are on. So you had the fresh soft schedule, you had the JV schedule, you had the varsity schedule, you had each one of the sports, you had out-of-season athletes that are trying to get better for their next sport, whatever that was, and then throw into the mix the general population of students. And I was just like, I was losing my mind. I didn't know how to navigate what it looked like to implement programs at a high level. I didn't know what it looked like to be able to build a culture because everybody was on a different thing. And I was trying to make sure everybody was getting exactly what they needed when they needed it. And it was such a headache. And then for a while, I dabbled around with how to mix and match some of the programs or make majority of the program the same. And then some of the things that would be specific to the each sport what they would need. And along the way, just found some good systems that worked. And they worked okay. We had some rotating days, and based off your sports schedule, we would change what it looked like for what you did within our training. But it was still just a lot to manage. And I was still just so frustrated that I didn't have the answers to this problem. And I was talking to Joe Quinlan and Gage Rozier a lot during that time, just trying to figure out what would be some solutions. And we found out, we came up with a few really good things. And then, I would come back at Mount Vernon and try to implement it in a positive way. And there was a lot of growth that happened. And circling back to what I was talking about earlier about just being really frustrated with Joe, is he's good at X's and O's. He's really good at making sure that he drives the stimulus and athletes get better. There's no doubt in my mind. But what I think Joe is elite at is building relationships and connecting with student athletes and making them feel like they are valued and seen. And he had a lot of different methods to do that. He had a lot of different ways to build people up. And it was just really, really eye-opening for me to see so many different ways to connect with athletes. And really, that was the big thing that I took away from Joe. And now I see that like X's and O's of strength and speed, really, they don't excite me near as much as it is just to like build relationships with kids and get to know them and invest time and hopefully help them along the way, like help them reach their goals. And so Joe's priorities were always right. And it just took me a while to figure out what that actually looked like. So then, I'm struggling through this system stuff starts to get in place a little bit more. By that first semester coming to a close, I felt like I was in a better place. And we ran that type of setup probably for the next 3 years. And that system worked. If you'd like to hear more about how I was doing it, we totally can. There's still, like my dad's high school, they still do a similar deal where they rotate off the schedule. They do a number of different things to make sure that everybody's getting what they need when they need it. And it's awesome. There's a few drawbacks to it in my situation. So for me, I'm on a modified block schedule. So this modified block schedule means I have like a normal period day on Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays, and then like a true block day, a longer period on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And what that comes down to is our athletes will train 4 times a week. I'll get to see them 4 times a week. So what we've switched to, and this was totally because I bought and read Cody Hughes' book, his ebook. I can't remember what it was called. I'm sure he still has it available. Really good read for me, right at a really good time for me to learn this. But in it, he had a stoplight protocol. And then since then, it's blown up on social media. I present on it for our in-season section about every time I speak. So it's something that I think a lot of people have known, they've seen, they've heard from Cody. And it's just a really, really nice system to get everybody what they need when they need it. So I'm going to explain that stoplight system first and then dive into a little bit more of what we do. But that stoplight system is just a really simple way for our kids to know what they need to be doing on a particular day. And for us, what we do, and it's not too far off, I think, of what Cody's original was, is we have a red day, a yellow day, and a green day. And green day just means you train as normal. And if it is a yellow day, we have a little bit less volume. And if it's a red day, we have a lot less volume. And we're basically making it more of like a primer lift. And so right now, we do basically 2 different separations. We have our 9-10 class, and we have our 11-12 class. So freshmen and sophomores primarily are together. Sometimes there's some outliers that juniors and seniors will have to take that class just because of scheduling issues. And then we have a junior-senior class where sometimes a freshman or sophomore can sneak into that class because of scheduling issues. But by and large, those are our 2 classes. And everybody knows how this works. So we've got our programs that we use, and then everybody knows how just to modify for it. And just like an overview of how it goes or how it works for the actual days is Green Day is completely normal. So if you have a competition 2 days or more away, you're going to train just as normal. So the sets will stay the same, the reps will stay the same, the load will stay the same, everything. Okay. Then if you have a yellow day where it's a 1 day before a competition. So if you're competing on a Friday night, it would be a Thursday, let's say. You're going to complete all your sets. So you'll do, like, if there's 3 sets prescribed, you'll do all 3 sets, but you're going to cut the reps in half. So let's say originally it was 3 sets of 6. Now you're going to do 3 sets of 3. Pretty simple, right? Now we just halved the volume already. Boom, just like that. Very simple. 1 day before competition. And then the last day that we have, or a competition day, is a red day. And that is where you skip the last set of every exercise and you're cutting the reps in half. So if it was originally 3 by 6, now it's going to be 2 sets of 3. And you might be like, that is barely a stimulus at all. And what I tell people when they ask me, like, do you use this even for like freshmen or somebody that has not made varsity level? And I tell them wholeheartedly, yes. Like, we use it top to bottom for 4 years because our ultimate goal is consistency. We want to build the habits that help our students toward the goal of lifetime wellness, right? And we want to build those habits so that they're consistent now. So hopefully they can continue that on into the future. And if a kid would take a break every single time that they have a competition, then we wouldn't make any progress. So we would lose where we're at progress-wise, okay? And then the opposite of it is if every time a kid would train through their competitions, they often would feel like they're not getting what they need to perform at an optimal level. So there's like a buy-in issue that could end up being created, right? So we want our athletes to feel like they're in control. We want them to be able to decide how they're using the stoplight, and as long as it's honest, okay? So here's one example that I use is our assistant strength and speed coach, Coach Whitman. He's also our boys track coach. And what he'll say to his sprinters is, hey, go green day on everything upper body, and then lower body, go all red, right? So he's mixing and matching how he's using the stoplight. And sometimes we'll have kids that you know what, no matter what, there's just going to be a green day, right? Maybe it's their third sport. So they have their first sport that they know and they love. They have their second sport that they're like, this is still my second favorite thing. And then maybe you're out for your third sport, whatever it is. And, it's important, but it's not near as important as maybe the first sport. And they would just want to make sure they're ready for that. So they will hit a green day all the way through that season. That's totally fine too. I just want kids to have autonomy. I want them to have the freedom to choose. So when we get to championship season, which is basically just playoff time of anything, doesn't matter what it is, we also have the option to use yellow and red days whenever. It doesn't even have to be a game day. It can just be that season. So like right now, state track is going on in Iowa, and we could use that red day all the way through district week and then all the way through state week. Whenever kids want to use that red day, they can, right? Soccer has postseason starting right now. They're in their championship season. So like, what does it look like for them to modify to fit what they need, right? Every spring sport was like that. And then sometimes we'll have somebody that has like a dance competition on the weekend, and it's just a big deal to them, right? Use that stoplight. Like, I want you to be full in here. I want you to be so bought in and know that I want you to do your best at whatever it is. Because everyone knows the weight room, the speed training, all that type of stuff is never to detract from the actual sport. We want our kids to be the best that they can be at the thing that matters to them the most, right? And that for by and large, for almost every single one of them, it's the actual sport that they're doing, not the weight room, right? And not the speed training that they're doing. It is more so, man, what can we do to make sure that they're feeling efficient, effective, good, whatever the word is on whatever their game day is actually going to be. And the other portion of this that goes along with it is when you get the kids that they are totally bought in and they see how well the stoplight can work, then we can get 4 years of good training from them. Or if we're lucky enough, like this next year, Coach Whitman's going to go down and start a 7th and 8th grade strength and speed at our middle school, like where we can get six years of good training. So he can even take this stoplight and say, okay, you've got a basketball game tonight, or you got a softball game tonight, or whatever you got. Okay, use the stoplight, modify some of the stuff that we're doing, because we want kids to be bought in. And so that stoplight from Cody Hughes down in Alabama has been an absolute game changer. If there was one thing that we've added to our program in the last 4 to 5 years, I guess it'd be now, is the stoplight. And it has allowed our kids to know that they know that they're ready for whatever competition it is that they're doing. And when you do those red days, it's truly just like a primer. So you've seen some people that will do like a pregame primer. It's just a primer for whatever their competition day is. So get in there, get moving, and it's really good. So here's some of the notes that Cody has put in his original stoplight that I stole from his book. He said most often volume and new exercises, so like novelty. So new exercise selections are the cause of soreness, right? So for us, if we want to try to decrease soreness so kids feel like they are at their best when they need to be at their best, then the volume is what we're going to have to be able to manipulate. So that's one big portion of how we train our in-season athletes. And I tell you what, it has been a game changer for us. Also, we have an in-season training protocol that our athletic administration stands behind and our athletic department implements. And this is something that is kind of like a center point to how we run our athletic department. The words that we use are all stayings, all sports, all in. And one of the unifying deals amongst all of our teams is that they're within strength and speed. So the benefit to that is they get to hear some similar messages. They get to hear from all of our coaches that can speak through the strength and speed program. And really it comes down to just knowing that we're going to have year-round training for every one of our athletes. And that's what we're shooting for. Is we want as many of our athletes as possible to hit this year-round training mark. And so we implemented this protocol. And I'm just going to go through the structure, the why behind it, and kind of what we need from our coaches what we're asking of our sport coaches for this to work. Okay, so during the school year, basically September through May, any in-season athlete that is not in Mustang Strength and Speed class will need to attend 2 of the offered times per week to hit the athletic department expectation. So they have some options for this. One option is in the morning from 6:30 to 7:15. Our early bird class starts at 7:15, so they have to be done with that. So we go a 45-minute session on Mondays and Wednesday mornings. That is available to any of our kids that need to hit their in-season requirement. And then also Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, right after school. So if they've got a later practice that evening because of gym usage or field usage or whatever, then they can come and do their training right after school on Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday. And then if none of those times work for the student athlete, then anytime that the in-season sport coach wants to set up and monitor. So like our girls basketball coach often will use like a Saturday morning to be able to hit that second one. So he'll provide a session on Saturdays, and then his girls will find one other time throughout the week that it works. And that seems to work pretty well for us. And really when it comes down to it, they can mix and match however they want to. So if they want to go one time in the morning and one time in the afternoon, sometime during the week, it's cool. They just have to hit the department expectation of 2 times per week. So our Mustang athletes are going to be training anywhere from 2 to 4 days year round. That's what we want. So if you're an in-season requirement that you're not in class, you train 2 days. If you are in class, you train 4 days, and our summer training is 3 days. So 2, 3, or 4. And weeks that have abnormal, links to them, like think about like Thanksgiving week or something like that, we'll just modify for it too. It's like, obviously we're not going to be so strict with it, but we want to make sure that there is some sort of standard that we're hitting. And athletes, they just want to try to make sure that it doesn't interfere with what they got going on in school and their sports. So however they want to choose those things is totally up to them. And the why that we do this, like the reasoning, kind of the thing that we tell all of our sport coaches, our parents, our student athletes, is we want to ensure that all Mustangs have the opportunity for year-round strength and speed training. Currently, if students that aren't in Mustang Strength and Speed class, then their training can be super variable if it was only done by coaches, right? If it was only put on the sport coaches to get those 2 times. So like maybe there was a rain out. So then there was a reschedule. So then maybe a normal lifting time wouldn't be able to be used because there's a rescheduled event, or just a number of different things that can happen in a season. So that's why we put in this protocol. And then the other reason why we put in this protocol is it lightens the load of the in-season coach. So, like historically, what we would do is the in-season coaches would have to make sure that if their kids were not in strength and speed, that they would facilitate the strength and speed training. And that's a lot when you have, whatever it is, 14, 15, 16 weeks of a season, and you're trying to do all the communication with parents, you're trying to do social media, you're trying to run practices and win ball games and all that type of stuff. It's a lot to say, hey, we want you to run the weight room also. It's like, well, it would be great if we can just utilize the strength and speed coach that's available already. So that is one of the benefits, is it just lightens the load. This cuts the workload way down for in-season coaches, and we'll talk about what I ask of them, I guess. And then it decreases the total workload of coaches throughout the year too. Just like knowing that, hey, you can send your student athletes to Preston or Ryan, and we'll help with that. That mental load is offloaded, right? And now what we ask for of our coaches is that we need our coaches to help stay on top of our athletes, making sure that they do what they need to get done, and help us make sure that we can hit this department standard. So many times it can get into this mode of like, okay, I've got all my stuff I need to get done, as a sport coach, and maybe they just slip on it. So what we try to do is implement like an attendance system. And so far it's been hard copy, right? It's just been paper and pencil, and it's been okay. It's actually I wouldn't say it's okay. It's less than ideal. So now what we're going to do is I made a system with Google Forms and Google Sheets where kids are just going to check in on iPads, and we'll be able to filter everything based off a week in sport, and people will be able to see how many training sessions they're getting per week. And we can also do our tracking of our student athletes over time. So like we have a goal that our athletes would train 400 times within their high school career. It should end up being a little bit more than that, but just the general goal would be if you make the 400 club. And now we're going to have a better way to track that, and I'm really pumped about it. We're going to start it in the fall, just as a clean start. So with all that in mind, now if we get the system up and running, it'll be even simpler for coaches, because they'll just be able to go to this Google Sheet and see who has not hit the standard for that week, and I'll be able to filter it a little bit faster and send out that communication just a little bit better. So the other thing that has been super good with all this is our student athletes, they know that taking the class is probably their best route. Now they don't have to come early. They don't have to stay late. They don't have to find a time on a Saturday morning with their sport coach. Like, they get to come in just during class every day, and it works out super nice, right? It's built into their day. So I'll always just be a huge proponent of how much of our training can we get done during the actual school day. Really, it's a simple overview. Like, it's a simple protocol, but it works really well for us. And what I found is with most systems, if it's simple, it's clear, and our student athletes see the why behind it, our sport coaches see the why or the reasoning behind it, man, it ends up being fairly effective. And really, that's what we want, is like, over the course of time, how effective are we being? How efficient are we being? And how consistent can we actually make our program? So with all that, you probably have a few questions. If you're listening to this, please reach out, and I'll help field any of those questions that you might have, and I can share what it looks like for our in-season protocol in a written way. But the number one thing that I see when people talk about like key performance indicators and consistency is they talk about attendance. They talk about year-round training. They talk about what it looks like for having a complete program for 4 years as compared to getting it spotty and not having the commitment level throughout all 4 years, and just the ebbs and flows of the school schedule and how that can be at a detriment. And really, I think that having some language around it and having a department-wide expectation just helps in so many ways to get people moving in the right direction. And then eventually, for the student athletes, for the sport coaches, for everyone involved, it's just the way that things are, right? This is just what Mustangs do, or whatever your school mascot is. It's just the way that we do things. So, like I said, if you have questions, please reach out. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to this episode. Soon, we'll get back into the regular scheduled interviews and get back to learning from some of the best coaches around the nation. Just wanted to take a short series and go through some of the things that we're doing within our program and help answer some of the questions that people might be having. So thank you.